All right, all right, all right. You're listening to the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. With me, as always, my right-hand man, Lou. Yeah, it's going to be one of those, ain't it, Lou?
I'm a bitter man tonight.
I get it, man. Listen, we're here to recap Super Wildcard Weekend with obviously a heavy focus on your Chargers and my 49ers. And then from there, we can look forward to, this weekend's final eight, if you will, in the divisional round of the playoffs. On paper, seem like a lot of stellar matchups that I'm excited for. Good news is it's condensed into 2 days instead of 3 days, and no days with 3 games. Manageable schedule to be able to watch with a little bit of efficiency and get some time away from the fam or with the fam or however you watch your football. But it'll be a little bit more manageable
on my phone usually because my daughter is watching her shows on the big screen TV. So
dude, you got to take ownership. Like, I have this down to a science with Landon. If I want to watch something on TV and he's like, Daddy, first of all, we're still watching Santa movies. We're still watching the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. And he's like, I want to watch the Santa movie. That's what he calls it. And then he wants to watch the Home Alones and he calls them the funny guys. I want to watch the funny guys because when they're getting all fucked up, he finds it hilarious. So I have to put those movies on and fast forward to basically the 25 minutes of the movie where both of these guys are getting destroyed going through the funhouse. But when I know what's up, I got the Verizon app on my phone so I can load it and go to that and hand them the phone so I can watch what I want on TV, right? And then if I need my phone because I want to scroll Twitter or do whatever, then I just inverse, pop that on the TV. Like, you got to play the flip game, dude.
You got a good system over there, man.
I mean, it's my system. I wouldn't say it's good. Poor fucking kid gets probably way too much screen time. All right. Let's jump in. We're going to make our promise or our attempt of commitment to the listeners this evening is to not have a 2-hour show. We're going to try to condense some of this information.
Hour 50, hour 45 max.
Yeah, max. 46 is an hour 46 is our average. Real quick, Lou, let's remind our listeners that tonight's episode is brought to you by Primetime Sports Talk, your top source for all major sports content, including DFS, fantasy advice, and great betting tips. Be sure to head to primetimesportstalk.com to check out their in-depth analysis, exclusive content, fascinating interviews, and explore the rest of their amazing podcast family. Again, primetimesportstalk.com, your go-to for sports content. Lou, I'm going to tease a hot topic, but I don't want to talk about it because we'll come back to it.
Okay.
But we may or may not. I'm going to err on probably not. Might have solved Tom Brady's last football game. We'll leave it at that because we can come back and talk about that game in some capacity if you want.
I hope not, because obviously the rumors are that there is some interest of him going to the Raiders. And if that's the fact, when players go to the Raiders, that's where they go to die.
And it's true.
Wouldn't mind Tom Brady, a decrepit Tom Brady out there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and probably bring Gronk back with them. But a story for another day. I don't think we'll get any light on that anytime soon. He'll drag it out like he always does. Yep. It's nice to be, I guess, the GOAT where you can drag those things out. So tonight we're going to focus on 2 areas. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Wildcard Weekend, specifically our teams and performances, maybe a future look around both teams. And then let's just get right into the divisional round and talk about the 4 matchups that we have. We'll give a few minutes on each matchup, pros, cons, pick our winners, and we're out of here. We're smooth sailing for the evening, and we'll get this up, lock and loaded. So, Lou, I'm gonna start with you. Obviously, Chargers, Jaguars. Listeners know the outcome. That being said, like, I guess I'll lob something over to you.
You don't have to. You can go right at me, man. Listen.
No, I don't want to go at you because, like, I have nothing but empathy for you right now because I know. First, I'm going to actually applaud you. That's my applause right now because if the roles were reversed, we wouldn't be recording tonight because I still would not have gotten out of bed. I'm just telling you.
Listen, I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now. I dish it. I can take it too. So, I'm a big boy. I will be able to take any medicine you're about to give me right now.
No medicine. I think I want you to describe for us the roller coaster of emotions that you went through, because this was definitively, like it has been for most of the season for this team, a tale of two halves. And one half looked drastically different than the other half. So like from start to finish, like what was the emotional wave like for you?
Yeah, so I made the error of being dragged out on Saturday night to a bar with a couple of buddies. Um, did not want to leave the house, but they guilted me into going out with them. So that was my first, mistake right there. So watching the game, seeing how quick the Chargers came out, to an early lead, and me still, my initial thought process is, listen, I'm skeptical. There's a term chargering for a reason. It exists for a reason. This does not just happen overnight. For those who do follow the franchise, this is only the second worst loss probably I've ever endured as as a Chargers fan. The first one would be the Marlon McCree interception of Tom Brady, and then he goes to return it and fumbles it and gives it back to the Patriots, and then they score a touchdown, and the rest is history. They advance. So that was the first time, but this was definitely the second time. This was like the second worst from a fan standpoint. Watching of a game like this game fucking broke me, and even the first half, knowing the history of this franchise, whether it's the Marlon McCree interception, whether it's the 4th and 27 play with the Baltimore Ravens, and they gave up that that catch to Ray Rice, whether it's the Nate Kading missing like 3 or 4 field goals against the Jets. It's always in the back of your mind when you watch a game as a Chargers fan. You're never happy or content no matter how big a lead is. And as I was expressing my cautiousness, two buddies were making fun of me, like, this, you're ridiculous and what have you. And then all of a sudden, you see 3rd and 1, they do a jet sweep to a practice squad player, fumbles it, they recover it, but I'm like, right there, I'm like, this is it. Identify, I'm like, this is it. Holy shit, this is the moment they're going to start messing up. And it just wasn't a feeling of inevitable. Like, it's just like there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's like watching a tsunami come at you and realize I have there's no power whatsoever. And you start seeing things. They only had 4 wide receivers, and one wide receiver got hurt, DeAndre Carter. So I'm like, all right, so how are they going to continue moving the ball, through the air against the Jaguars if they really only have 2 wide receivers and a practice squad player now, right? So I was confused by that. Then you had their starting left tackle, Jamari Salyer, get hurt. I'm like, okay, that's going to be an issue too. Like, you just see it's like the cracks in the foundation. It's like when a pebble hits your windshield and it starts spidering. You just start seeing the signs, and it was more of a despair. It's more of hopelessness. Um, because I'm like, I've been down this road before. I've seen this before, and here we go. And not a doubt in my mind, I thought that that the Jaguars were not going to win this game. Just the game flow. You just tell in the second half. So, long story short, hopelessness. I think that was just more of like, a wait and see to let's see, and it just turned to hopelessness.
So safe to say you've never felt comfortable in that game.
I was enjoying it, but
Yeah.
I'm like, this game, even at 27, I'm like, this game is not over. And then even some of the things I was saying, like, oh, Herbert missed the throw to Keenan Allen for a touchdown. I'm like, that's, you really would like, 7 there instead of 3. So, but I'm like, hey, at least they didn't turn the ball over there. They put up points. So it's just, there was always that thought that was creeping in the back of in my mind as the game was going on. It was starting to creep to the front.
All right. So validation, I have it up on my phone. I'm sure you can't read it or see it. Just so Lou is not just throwing smoke at you about his emotions. At halftime, I text him, Lou, you should hit the bar for every game. You can't be mad about that first half. Lombardi couldn't hurt you in the half. And you said, game far from over. Salyer banged up, Carter out. How are they going to move the ball?
I did say that. Don't forget, I was a little intoxicated.
But that was at halftime, dude. That was at halftime. 27-7 score at half.
That was like still, yeah. So that, that was me just being real with you. I'm like, I'm confused, like how they're going to do this. Like, how are they going to continue this path? Especially when they didn't have, the running game present. That was a big issue. I think they had less than 10 yards rushing in the second half. You're up by 20 points. You can't run the ball. I mean, you can't. What do we say all the time, Weston, when it comes to playoff football? That stupid old cliche, and it's a cliche, and it works.
Yeah.
Defense and the rushing attack.
Travels.
Those are the things that travels well. They could not chew up time. They could not keep the defense off the field. It's just disheartening. And then you're literally making Herbert throw so many times, and you had to. It wasn't like, hey, were they being overly? They were getting nothing on the ground, so you can't just keep on running into a brick wall expecting something to change. So kudos to them realizing, okay, we're gonna have to try to do other things like screens and what have you to that are kind of like long handoffs, but it just never materialized, man. I mean, you can't do that. You're trotting two wide receivers out there for a whole half of a game. Like, how are you really expecting them to really not get locked down because they can never come off the field?
I mean, dude, we talked about it going into the playoffs that I said that the run game for the Chargers is the Achilles heel. You need to be able to have that threat. And like you said, you're up 20 points. How do you kill 10, 11 minutes of total time of possession in a half of football? It's by being able to run the football, right? And you can't. And then when you start throwing incompletions or receiver goes out of bounds in the second half and you're starting to stop the clock, it just adds possessions to the team that's trailing. What's most surprising for me coming out of this game, though, is defensively, the first half could not have gone well. The first 27 minutes or so of the first half could not literally have gone any better for the Chargers. I keep it honest here, 4 interceptions and a fumble recovery.
Yeah,
Asante Samuel had 3 picks and a fumble recovery in the first half. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, the back end was playing phenomenal. Brandon Staley did some good job of doing combination coverages, making it look like man, but it was really cover 2 on one side. So that was all sound and everything. But like I said, I feel like, and I know what Peyton Manning said, or on the telecast, people don't make second half adjustments. I think he said that in tongue in cheek right there.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like Peterson was making some second half adjustments that caught the Chargers sleeping. But my issue is this twofold. First, the Mike Williams news was catastrophic. They really could have used someone, especially in the red zone, because I feel like some of the plays they ran, Mike Williams can aid up and score some touchdowns there, especially with that throw where Herbert missed Keenan Allen, right? That's a Williams touchdown all day, right? Because he's bigger, right? So he needed another bailout, another option, because Joshua Palmer is not that guy. I know everyone's trying to make him that guy. He's not that guy.
He's a good player, but
yeah, he's a wide receiver 3 at best.
Yeah.
All right. Can fill in every now and then, but he's so inconsistent. So so that was catastrophic with the Mike Williams injury. And I also was talking to some other people. This is hard because going into halftime, what's your mentality? What's your psyche as a player if you're a Los Angeles Charger? You're automatic. You're happy. You're ecstatic, right? You're like, this game is over, and you can't tell me. Obviously, I don't know anything, but their thought process was like, "Hey, the Jaguars are just going to roll over and die."
Yeah.
Here's the thing: it's playoff football. There is no tomorrow. So maybe if it was the doldrums of weeks 11, 12, 13, yeah,
you pack it up and live to play another day. No doubt.
Exactly. But they just automatically expected the Jaguars to roll over and die. And guess what? Spoiler, they did it.
Well,
So.
I think that's like, we talk about it all the time, like the hot team, the team that you don't expect to win tends to win. Like this whole concept of like having nothing to lose is a very dangerous proposition in playoff sports in general, right? Like arguably, like Jags squeaked in, right? Squeaked in, like beat Tennessee last week, like in a close performance with Tennessee playing with Joshua Dobbs as their starting quarterback, right? Like different. I think what's this is like half statement, half question, because I want your perspective on this. So I do know that the Chargers had a chance to rectify all of this, right? They missed a field goal, a gimme from in NFL terms from Dicker, right? Like field goal missed. That field goal puts this game in my.
He had like a 95% like hitting.
I know.
Like
but dude, that game, I don't want to say it puts it away, but makes it increases the probability tremendously that you win the game just due to like lack of possessions, because that wasn't like early in the second half, right? Like that was late in the half.
Quarter.
Yeah. But I
think what's wrong, I think they were up still 16 going into the fourth, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Like I said, I had a couple of tequila and sodas and a couple of gin and tonics and other things that like clouded. Like as this was happening on, I'm like, all right, feed me up here, load them up here.
Yeah. I'm gonna need a taller glass, please. Like
no ice, please. No ice.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna jump in and see what it was. So Jacksonville scored 11 and won by. So you were up 10 to start the fourth.
Okay, up 10. All right,
you're up 10.
I feel like they might have just scored then in that third
scoring summary, third quarter.
Yeah,
they scored with 44 seconds left.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I think that was Maurice Jones-Drew.
So they would have been up 16 because they went for two. Yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew.
If my memory serves me right.
What is this, 2003?
Sure as hell felt like it.
What was most perplexing to me, listen, you watch more Charger ball than I do, and I know we haven't seen a lot of them this season, and I can understand and empathize that the way the game transpired, players lose their cool. Even the best of them lose their cool. But the Joey Bosa slamming the helmet out of frustration, whatever caused that.
Yeah, why do you think he did that?
No, I know. I don't. I know why he did it. Like he was frustrated. There should have been a call. Like he wanted a false start on them, and he felt like he was getting held all game and wasn't getting the calls. I understand his frustration, but I also expect more from a Bosa. Like they just know better. Like if you wanted like on the field, we all know what a penalty is, and that put yourself in Doug Peterson's shoes. That happens. He wasn't going for two. And then
it was the right move, by the way. It was the right move.
100%. Because you already know what you're telling yourself. I shouldn't even be in the playoffs. I shouldn't even be in this game at this point. I don't want. They missed a field goal a few minutes ago. I don't want this to be a tie ball game and go to overtime and give the better team more time to squeak something out. So, like, hey, let's just put it all on the line. Listen, Doug Peterson's known to roll the dice. Not a surprise. But once that ball goes to the 1 yard line, damn right I'm going for two. Because the next time, all I need to do is kick a field goal and I win by one. Yeah. If I get that extra possession. And they got that extra possession. So I found that was my statement question is like, have you ever seen Bosa lose his cool like that before? Like in that scenario?
How long has he been with the Chargers? What, like 6 years, 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So he's tired of charging too. He's tired because he's not used to. This is an athlete who's used to winning, right? Yeah. He's a top prospect coming out of high school. He went to the Ohio State. They were winners there. Gets drafted by the Chargers and has known nothing when it comes to, winning with the Chargers. And he's trying to fight through an injury. He stated he's playing on one leg. He's getting held. So he's playing decent, playing through that injury and what have you. And he just got frustrated. To me, that just shows that was awful from Bosa. Can't sugarcoat it. But where's the leadership from a coach? Where's the leadership from other players? Why isn't Derwin James going over there trying to, calm him down? Why isn't Khalil Mack doing that? Why isn't a coach doing that? I think when it comes down to the Chargers, they don't have savvy leadership. Look on both sides of the ball. Bosa is not a leader, and when I mean that, I just mean he's not like he's more of like I'm going to come to the game, mess stuff up, and that's it.
No,
they don't have that those type of players to keep other players in check and what have you, and you can tell how times they charger or how inconsistent and sloppy they play. They don't have someone that can reel them back in from a leadership standpoint.
All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. I don't want to foreshadow too much about what, like, we have the whole offseason to project, like, what they should do, what they will do, free agency, draft needs, all that. Like, we got plenty of time for that. But we've already see the curtain be unveiled a little bit based on Joe Lombardi gets ousted. Your quarterback coach gets ousted. I think they made a move on the defensive side. So from where you sit, let's just call it 72 hours after the fact, are you in the school of thought of like these, I'm okay with these moves, or you sit on the side of the fence of like, based on what I saw, based on another, to use your term, chargering example, like, in your opinion, does Brandon Staley need to go? Or do you think like he's done enough in his 2 years here to earn a stay of execution and make some changes around him?
All right. So I have a phrase that complacency is the enemy of progress, right?
Yep.
And Chargers always half-ass things. I personally think I understand you can make an argument why Brandon Staley needs to stay because the back end of that schedule, they played aspiring football. I get that. However, the fact back-to-back weeks, 2 huge blunders to end their season. The Mike Williams injury and how he played his starters for no reason whatsoever. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the second year in a row they have ended their season prematurely from gaffes from Brandon Staley. What they did, firing the offensive coordinator, they were always going to fire Joe Lombardi, right?
They could win the Super Bowl and they were probably firing.
Yeah, I mean that was the only thing that was saving him. But and the quarterback coach is Shane Day. I get that too because Herbert is 6'6", and some of the mechanics that he has been a little sloppy this year because of the arm angles that Shane Day maybe bestowed upon him. But so in my opinion, it's an incomplete. It's a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Right. So no, I'm not joyous on the firing Lombardi because I think it means absolutely dog shit until you get someone real in there to replace him. I don't know if they have the capabilities of finding a legit, innovative offensive mind to assist Justin Herbert, right? I don't know. There's doubt that creeps in my mind. And in addition, once again, they're hitting the reset button to the fact that another offensive coordinator in Justin Herbert's 4th year was like 3 and 4 years, straight up ridiculous. And he has to learn a whole new system once again. And it's just frustrating. And why is just the offensive side of the ball going through the changes? Why isn't the defense? They fired their linebacker coach, yes, but Ronaldo Hill, the defensive coordinator, he should be out there. What does he do? He doesn't call the plays. That's Brandon Staley. But what value does he really bring to this team? If he's just a guy to be there, then there's no reason to have Hill. I feel like Staley needs another challenge in mind, i.e., Fangio, right?
Yeah,
runs the same system as Staley's elder, but they can work together. That would be a good way. But I don't know why Hill's still the defensive coordinator of this team. They literally have the same problems they did from last year to this year, and it doesn't look like it's going to be improved whatsoever. For 34 straight games, we're talking about Chargers can't stop the run. Yeah.
Right. So you would touch on some things. Like, I think the firing of Joe Lombardi is just the pimple on the ass. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying Staley's got to go. What I'm saying, and you alluded to, is okay, so who do you bring in? This is because this is sometimes the struggle when you have what could be a high flying offense, but your head coach is defensive minded, right? Because that's where he focuses. It's not like, okay, we fired our OC, but Sean McVay's calling the plays anyway. Kyle Shanahan's calling the plays anyway. Like, let him, you know what I mean? It's not changing anything. Like, who's coming in, right? Because all the hot names are looking at head coaching opportunities right now. And like, and I think the biggest point is your point. This is something that's plagued Justin Herbert from college through now, is just offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator with no. This was the most consistency we saw, was year 1 to year 2 under Joe Lombardi, in a very vanilla offense when all is said and done for what he's capable of. All right, so sucks, dude. Sucks. I don't think the better team won.
I'm gonna, and I agree. And I'll tell you right now, this game broke me. Let me tell you how much this game broke me. After the game, I did not watch a single ounce of playoff football on the next day or the Monday. I just couldn't. I couldn't watch football. I just couldn't. And this is not for for the show. For me saying for the show. I had no interest whatsoever. I was completely like numb / dead inside. I had no interest watching any football because it was way too soon. I'll watch it again this weekend, but I just could not watch the Sunday and the Monday night game.
Well, dude, you would have. So like
you kept hearing the shit
story over and over and over again, and there's too much time, right? Like if your game was Sunday night or Monday night, excuse me, you would have watched all weekend, right?
I would have went through, what is it, like those like stages of whatever, of like grief or something, like it's like acceptance, anger. Like I would have been through all those stages by the following week. But the fact that it was Saturday night, couldn't do it, man. Couldn't do it. Had no interest. I avoided anything sports related, like a task that my wife gives me on a Sunday morning,
like the honey to-do list.
Yeah, I was like literally like Neo in the Matrix, just dodging, anything sports.
Dude, that was my biggest fear about the 49ers having the first game, right? I was like, if this doesn't go well, this weekend's a wash, right? Like it's an absolute wash on a long weekend, on a holiday weekend, right? Where I had Monday off and no distraction to like get back to work or whatever it might be. And now I'm at the inverse, where the Niners got the last game this weekend. So now I'll watch, so I got to watch football comfortably all weekend. Next weekend, I'm going to watch it miserably all weekend because of the anxiety of leading up to that final game and that like national spotlight, if you will. So I'm like, I'm polar opposite from weekend to weekend, and I don't know what to do with myself about it, but is what it is, man.
Yep. Already looking at draft prospects, as I told you before.
All right. Well, there you go. There's some off-season content coming your way, listeners. Lou will be unveiling some draft prospects that maybe some of you have never even heard of, but might, cast a spotlight on them, whether they go to his team or another team. So awesome. Yep. All right. Plenty more to come about the Chargers come this offseason. So let's quickly parlay into the Niners Seahawks game. Obviously the outcome that was expected.
Let me switch it up on you. Let me ask you some questions.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so going into the game, we might have touched upon this in the last show, but what was your thought process? Where was your mindset? Where was your confidence level going into this game?
Well, I just alluded to how nervous I was, being that it was the first game, and I was already worried that it was going to ruin my entire weekend, right? Depending upon the outcome. So that's like step one. Step two, we beat this drum last year in the NFC Championship about playing the same team 3 times in a season, and you won the first 2 games. The expectations become a little bit more loftier. Hey, listen, I picked the 49ers to win this game, and I don't ordinarily do that, right? So I was confident on paper that we were definitively the better team, because the games that I watched earlier this year, we were definitively like the better team, and it wasn't close. But this is still We always talk about that bugaboo, right? You know, the Seattle Seahawks have just been the boogeyman, you know, and I know they're Russell Wilson less, right? And he's normally the boogeyman for the 49ers. But if anybody's going to derail you, it's going to be this team. I was nervous riding a 10-game win streak, right? That's a long time to go without losing a football game. And sometimes that doesn't bode well, even though it's like, hey, you're the hottest team. Like, you haven't lost in this long. Like, you know, here's a funny thing for you, Lou. So I will allude to it, but I will not go any deeper because now is not the right time. But I'm hoping over the remainder of this postseason that on this show, I'm going to issue a formal apology to my wife, a formal apology that is 49er related. That's all I'm going to say about it. We're not there yet. That being said, my wife has this just weird intuition about football. So before she even really started avidly watching with me, sometimes when I would just do pick'ems and stuff like that, I'd be like, babe, this team. And she knows the team's names, but she didn't know players or anything. And I'm going back to like 2010, 11, 12. Like, that's how long we've been together. And she'd just be like, oh, this team's going to win. And she'd be right, dude, with no context, no knowledge. It's just this intuition thing. I looked at her 5 minutes before kickoff, and I was like, I'm nervous. And she was like, listen, they're going to start slow. Let me tell you, nobody's on the Brock Purdy bandwagon more than my wife is right now. Like, she can't get enough of this content and what she's sending to me. She goes, listen, in her words, they're going to start slow. The first half is going to feel a little sluggish, but all will be right with the world in the second half. Her exact words 5 minutes before kickoff.
She's already a better analyst than Emmanuel Acho.
So. Yeah, already, without even trying, just trying to calm her husband down, right? Like, whether she believed what she was saying to me or not, like, so just going into the game, like, it's playoffs, dude. I'm nervous on you know, dude, I'm the guy who tells you every game is must win, right? Like, this is a must win game, right? So you're going into the playoffs. What I love about our sport is there's no best of 7, best of 5, best of 3. It's win or go home, right? And all it takes is one bad game, one big play, right? And your whole season's over. All this emotion and build up. So I was really nervous going into the game. But my gut told me, like, on paper, definitively a better football team, right? And I was confident in that. And I think the second half showed that, like, we were by far in a way a better football team.
Yeah.
You know, everything went right in this game. Like, I'd say when I look at, so it's funny, over the last few days, you're seeing all these different analysis is around, you know, Brock Purdy's play. And if you went to the stat line, you'd be like, God damn, for a rookie, like, he set like rookie records, right? Like, only rookie to ever have 4 touchdowns in a playoff game or whatever like that he set. But, like, I go back and watch the tape and I'm like, it wasn't stellar, you know, like it doesn't.
Especially in the first half. So remember we talked about, like, last week about Brock Purdy's play. I'm like, I remember watching Brock Purdy play at Iowa State. I wish we can, like, kind of like then, you know, cut in last week's episode. I remember him running around like a chicken out of head.
Yeah.
And in the first half of the Seahawks game, I felt like he was early to bail out of the pocket, and that's not where his strong suit is. And yeah, you're right. It started off a little slow, and yeah, I think, you know, it was a little challenging in that first half for him.
I mean, dude, we started up 10-0, right? Like, the game couldn't, you know, we held them, their first 2 series were 3 and outs, right? So, like, momentumly speaking, but it did to me look like he just didn't settle in. And I don't want to say the moment was too big, but he was hyped up for the moment, right?
Yeah.
I think, like, there's one play that pops to mind where he, quote unquote, missed Brandon Ayuk deep, right? Brandon Ayuk stopped running the route. I would argue that if Ayuk continued to run the route, he'd hit him. But, like, to me, that was like, hey, things have been going so well for me that I'm going to continue to go take that big shot and not trust the things that have been going well. Like, take the most open guy, which is Deebo Samuel, running wide open in the middle of the field, clear as day. That probably could have been a touchdown in itself with how much space he had if he hit him with the ball. So there was just things like that. You know, there's a play to Jennings that people are like, oh, look at that dart. Like, that, it wasn't a good throw. Like, it wasn't a good throw. It snuck in. Quandre Diggs, if he was paying attention and not just trying to, like, get there and maybe even make a hit on Jawan Jennings, maybe even could have picked it off. There was an earlier throw on one of the first few series where it was just a pass defense knocked down by the defender, but had Jawan wide open, held the ball a little too long, and gave the receiver time to recover. The D-back time to recover and deflect the ball away. So just like a little like uncharacteristic of him. And then he settled in. What I did see once he kind of settled in was like his propensity to step up in the pocket versus trying to bail out of the pocket. And when you saw him step up, it was like, oh, by the way, there's my check down. Oh, twice. Once to Elijah Mitchell, once to, Christian McCaffrey, that resulted in touchdowns by kind of like stepping up. Yes, holding on to the ball a little bit of time, but not bailing out, being chased by these defenders. And that's like maturation that you see that Kyle Shanahan coached him on. So I thought he played a great game. I find myself in this very weird situation when I watch Brock Purdy. So from Alex Smith days, literally up until I would say the end of the Tampa Bay game with Brock Purdy, my mentality has changed. I went from watching every single quarterback from Alex Smith up until Brock, every time they drop back, just being nervous. Like I have no idea where this ball is going to go. Like I think about like if I watch the Chiefs or if I watch the Bills and Mahomes or Allen just goes to air it out down the field where you can't even see the receiver in the camera picture, right? You just see it out. Like my mind goes touchdown. They see something and know something that I don't. I know they're going to get the ball out. Mm-hmm. Like most recently with Jimmy, every time he dropped back and if that ball was going somewhere where that receiver was not already in the camera angle, I was like, this is being intercepted. Like that was literally my thought. Or it's not going to be pretty, right? Like I haven't had that with Brock recently. Like there's a trust to like what he's doing and whether it's just like he's dude, like you can't downplay this. Like I know he's got a ton of talent around him, but he's balling. Like he's balling and he's way exceeded my expectations. I thought the season was over when Jimmy went down. I'm like, we might limp into the playoffs, but like this is a third string quarterback. This ain't going to go all that well. Third string for a reason. You know what I mean? Like he's Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. I'm eating my words. I'm fine with that. Plenty comfortable. I think the coolest thing about this game though, dude, was the best throw that I saw him make was actually an incompletion. That should have been a touchdown in the back. You seen this highlight to Brandon Ayuk where he scrambled literally from the left side of the field to the right side of the field, threw a fucking dart to Ayuk, hits him right in his chest, leaning out of the end zone, drops it. But what makes me excited about this is that play alone, bro. Jimmy don't make that play. That's a sack. Yeah. That ball's thrown away. And that's the difference. This is the same offense. But what Brock is doing in buying time with that short area quickness, even if it is bailing out of the pocket or stepping in the pocket, even if it's incomplete, it's 2nd and 10. It's 3rd and 10. You get another play that's manageable. With Jimmy, unfortunately, in some of those scenarios, that might have been 2nd and 18. 3rd and 18. Mm-hmm. Super obvious passing downs. I don't know if you saw the Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes, who is it? Marcus Spears that's on the show too?
Yep. Ryan Clark,
RC, when they were trying to break down like what Kyle Shanahan has going. And dude, I said this when McCaffrey came over, right? Like this concept of like positionless football, it's crazy, bro. They had plays where McCaffrey was literally hand in the dirt, tight end. Like what do you do when you see these players all over the place? Like he's just got it's a comforting feeling, but it's a scary feeling because you have so much talent.
Yeah, I just feel like there's an embarrassment of riches there. But what even makes it even more dangerous is not just the personnel that you guys have, is that you have the acumen and the offensive-minded genius of Kyle Shanahan to put these players in position to succeed. So you have the personnel and the coaching aspect, and they're making Purdy look fantastic, and Purdy's just staying within the system. Not calling him an assistant quarterback whatsoever.
Nope.
But I'm just saying he's like, wow, I got all these awesome, these highly talented players and skill position players, at my disposal. I'll just make them make the play. He's playing within himself. He's not trying to make things happen, and he has that luxury because guess what? If he doesn't succeed on a couple drives, he knows that defense will help bail him out and get him the ball again. It's a luxury to know a nice warm feeling that, you know what, if I don't have a good drive, I'll get the ball back because our defense is fucking stellar. So it's an embarrassment of riches because even on the defensive side, you have D'Amico Ryans, putting his players in
Yep.
to succeed there.
I think what's the best about what Kyle's doing right now is understanding how defenses align, right? Like, and what their adjustments are and what their sights are and what their audibles and calls are. And it's usually off of formation. So whether you're in 21 or 11 or even 31 personnel, like it's so he can call the same play 7 times over and just move players into different positions, even though it's the same alignment, and it throws everybody off, right?
Yeah, I used to do that all the time with Madden. I'm telling you, you literally pick different formations, but have the same exact plays. That's exactly what it's like. You're right. It's like you're having, all right, instead of Kittle being the tight end, you have Debo, in line, or you just like. I'm not saying that's what they did, but you're just literally changing the parts and changing the window dressing. But guess what? It's the same exact play, but you can't play the same exact way because the personnel is completely different and they have different skill sets. So yeah, it is.
He's playing chess out there. He's playing
exactly.
Chess.
So we already talked about. I had questions about what are some of the things that came. I was going to ask you what are some of the things that you came away with this game that makes you feel encouraged. We've already addressed that.
Yeah.
I want to, because I'm in a pissed off, bitter mood, I want to focus on the negative side as I normally do. What were some of the things that made you a little worrisome, during this game, that you think, hey, this could be a problem for the Niners if they don't, shore it up, for later on in the playoffs?
Yeah. Great question. So a couple things. First half, 3 field goals, right? And I would say at least 2, if not all 3 of those possessions could have been like, you'd like to see 7 points there, right? Like against a better offense, a higher powered offense, a la what's coming in this weekend. Like 9 might not cut it, but 21 out of those possessions, or even 17 instead of 9, is game changing. So I chalk that up to stalling inside the red zone a little bit.
Okay.
And I know
red zone efficiency. That's a big one.
That scares me. Dumb penalties happens all the time with the 49ers. I feel like they find one a week, whether it's just like Jimmy Ward was the prime example on that, right before half where they squib kicked it. Geno scrambles. They got no timeout or 1 timeout left, and there's like 1 second left on the clock by the time he gets down, and he's sliding, and Jimmy hits him and puts him 15 yards. You just went all the way down the field, kick a field goal to go up 16-14 and a half that arguably didn't go your way, and the defense wasn't playing all that well. And then you just put him in position to kick a field goal, and you go in 17-14, or you go into the half down 17-16. It just took away all the work that you just did over the final 4 minutes of that first half. And you give that team belief, right? Like, that's scary. Again, against a better team, a higher caliber team, that belief and that momentum might be all they need to turn the tide in the second half. So that the dumb penalty that rears its ugly head. And then I would say, just defensively, like the pressure's not there right now. Hufanga, who was all world in the first 7-8 weeks of the season, has had a busted assignment 1 to 2 times every game that yields a big play, and in an inopportune time. So, like, for the first time all season, I'm actually more confident in the offense than I am the defense.
Wow.
And that, based on who's coming to town, that's a little scary. I think what balances it, again, based on who's coming to town, they've never seen this offense before, right? So, like, I trust the defense enough to not give up 35 points in a game, which is what we're averaging, offensively over the last, whatever you want to call it, 6-7 weeks. But, Bosa's been a little quiet over the last few weeks. I'd love to see him get back into the mix, and that I think I'm worried about defensive prowess right now. That's my biggest, like, if I'm being a Debbie Downer. and I still can't help but carry the when is this other shoe going to drop
For Purdy?
on number 13?
Yeah.
I don't know if it is, and I don't think it is, and I think we're a good enough team that even if, like, you know what, dude, I wanted to save this for this. You know what? I'll save this point.
Save it, yes.
Yeah, and say we'll come back to it when we're looking at the Niners Cowboys game.
Teasing our listeners.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
I think that's a good idea because I do have some questions about that too.
All right, cool. So listen, good win, big win, significant win outside of the Monday night game. Oh, even including the Monday night game, it was the biggest margin of victory out of the entire wild card weekend. You know, further validation that this team is for real. I'm happy with it. I told you it was the one team that I really didn't want to play. Was being Seattle. Like, I know I mentioned I didn't want to play like the ghost of Aaron Rodgers and all of those things, but really when it came down to it, I was like, damn. I would love to at all costs avoid having to play the same team 3 times. You can't create a disadvantage. They have all the tape on you. They've seen everything, right? Like, what else can you do? Like, when it's the 3rd game, you just have to go be better at the other team. Even when they know what you're going to do, you just have to be better.
Yeah.
And they were better.
Last thing I'll say, and just I'm still pissed off that we were robbed the opportunity to watch the Lions versus Niners, because I think that game would have been
a great game.
It would have been a fantastic game.
Listen, the Lions offense gives deep teams problems. Now, I think the difference here is the Lions are a little slower on grass, right? Like outdoors, like they look real good when they're on turf and in a dome, and they're a fast offense.
But they're physical though too at the offensive line position.
Very physical. Like they would give.
That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see,
100%. They would give our defense all they could handle. But the problem is we would give their defense probably way more than they could have handled.
Agreed.
Way more than they could have handled.
I digress.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into these divisional rounds, and we'll pick them as we review each game, right?
Yeah,
so, we'll give kind of our, feedback, and then tell me who thinks going to win. So I'm just going in order of times of these games. So the first one up on the docket Saturday, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to the number 1 seed, Kansas City Chiefs. I just got off my 49er high horse. Lou, I'll let you tell me what you're thinking about this game.
Still too soon for me. Now, all kidding aside, Jacksonville.
I'm done. I'm hanging up.
I love the fact, you have Peterson, Andy Reid type of storyline or narrative there. You love that you have 2 young gunslingers under the quarterback. In my opinion, I just feel like until the Chiefs lose, I'm always going to be in their corner.
Yeah.
In regards to picking them to win. I just coming off a bye, giving Andy Reid another week, the talent that they have, on the offensive side of the ball. And here's something that rarely gets talked. Their defense isn't great, but they do apply pressure. I think they're like top 5 in sacks, if I'm not mistaken. So they could give, Trevor Lawrence some fits going to a hostile environment on the road. I just feel like it's always going to be Mahomes. It's always going to be Andy Reid until otherwise. There's only 2 teams, in my opinion, on the AFC side that can cast some doubt with the Kansas City, and they're playing the other slate a game. So it's a great story for the Jacksonville Jaguars because they started off so slow. And now here they are. They're in the playoffs, 2nd round. I get it. That being said, I just think this is where, the fat lady starts warming up her bagpipes there.
Yeah, it's funny, dude, because I say this a lot that, often the bye week, I don't find it to really be beneficial to teams in the playoffs because, if you're playing well,
it is, though.
That's what I'm saying. Unless you are a well-coached team, right? If you're a well-coached team, you have that team in position to understand what work needs to be put in. It's probably not treated as a full bye week. There's probably meetings galore. It's not your traditional bye week during the regular season where you don't even see the team, right? You give them 3, 4, 5 days just to get away from, the office and films and everything and just kind of recoup. and heal. What's crazy to me about this game is there's just something scary about a team that doesn't belong, right? Like that doesn't belong. Like they got nothing to lose, bro. Like nothing to lose. And those games can change on like a fake punt here, a fake field goal there, a block kick because they're just sending everybody. Like that can change the tide. But I totally agree with you. Kansas City is by far and away the better football team on paper. Like it's not even close, in my opinion. They have the best player at the most important position. Patrick Mahomes is probably going to win the MVP. And I've been saying on this show, off this show, to anybody that I talk to, that I think Kansas City is going to win the Super Bowl, right? Like, how would I pick Jacksonville or any team to actually beat them, especially on the road, right? Like, got to travel, got to go to Arrowhead. We know what that presents. Now, that being said, so I'm coming out saying Kansas City is going to win this football game. That's my pick. No shocker. But I think Jacksonville will make it a game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. They're going to make it a football game. They're going to play physical,
inspiring football. Yeah.
One thing I saw from that defense, because listen, I know LA went up 27-0 on them, but I don't really fault the defense. The offense put the defense in bad position time and time and time again. Mm-hmm. Like there wasn't real true 80, 90-yard drives, 7-10-minute drives. It was quick change of events. We're like, shit, we got to go right back out there. Oh my God, we were off the field for 2 plays. We got to go right back out there. This defense is fast, and that's how Kansas City plays. They play fast, right? So I think they're a formidable opponent, but when all said and done, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's a fucking magician. And whether this game is close or not, like he'll find a way to win this football game. Not worried about it.
So I agree with you. I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a blowout whatsoever. But why I'm so confident in the Chiefs is Jacksonville can stop the run well. Chiefs don't care to run the ball, right? Jacksonville has trouble stopping the pass if they don't get to the quarterback. And they've been better as of late getting to the quarterback. However, what separates this Chiefs team from the Chargers team is Kansas City has a really good offensive line to neutralize the physicality of the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's why I think they might not play as an imperative role in the outcome. But still, I think Lawrence – we'll find a way to keep it close. Don't expect a blowout whatsoever.
All right. So we both got Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right. Let's Giants, Eagles.
I went AFC. You can start in the NFC.
All right. Gosh. Like the fan in me, I've said it multiple times on the show. I do, but I don't. Here's why I don't. I don't, because anytime in my lifetime the 49ers have had to play the Giants in an NFC championship game, it has not gone my way. Period, point blank. It's happened twice, and we're 0-2, right? In the NFC championship game, 0-2. We've beat them in the playoffs. They beat us before in the playoffs, but when it's the NFC championship game, there is the 1990 Roger Craig fumble when we were going in to put this game away. They come back, they come down the field, kick a field goal, win the football game. And then there's the the overtime. We force Eli Manning to punt and Giants to punt the ball twice. Kyle Williams fumbles the punt. 2 plays later, they kick a field goal and they go on to beat the New England Patriots, who we would have mopped in that Super Bowl with that team that the 49ers had. So that's why I don't want the Giants to win, because it just doesn't go I might have to go to the game to change because normally it's a big family party. I'm the only 49er fan. All of my family is all littered in Giants gear, riding me the entire game. A thing called the crying room was invented from the 1990 NFC Championship game, where I locked myself in a room and cried because I was 8 years old at the time.
Did you say you were 17 years old, 18 years old?
I was 30. No, I said I was 37 years old.
No. I couldn't hear you.
No. Well, in any case, but I want the Giants to win because I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, who doesn't hate the Philadelphia Eagles, especially from like where we're from? Here's this real scoop. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the better team. I don't think it's even a question. I know everybody's riding high off of Daniel, and Giants fans specifically riding Daniel Jones, bag after he played a tremendous game against the Minnesota Vikings, a tremendous game. But his two best games this year have been against the Minnesota Vikings, and their defense is legitimately like a laughing stock right now. Like, it's not the Mike Zimmer Minnesota Viking defense by any means. So I just think the Giants are outclassed from a talent perspective in this game. But I also just said before how I don't think teams tend to benefit from the bye week. I'm not saying Nick Sirianni's a bad coach. I don't know much about him. This is second year under helm, right? Like, you don't have the history behind it like you have with Andy Reid to be comfortable like on how he handles a bye week. I just don't know how much faith I have in Philadelphia off a bye week, like lost two games, barely beat a Giant team that didn't play any of their starters when Jalen Hurts came back. Now you're in a bye week. Where's the rhythm? And we always talk about it. Hot. It's never the best team that wins. It's always the hottest team. And I'm not saying the Giants are the hottest team, but I'm telling you they're hot. They're winning football games right now. They look like they did at the beginning of the season when they were like 7-2, and people are like, "What? The New York Giants are 7-2? I didn't think they'd win 7 games all year." Yeah. And they're 7-2.
I want to real quick. I want to actually touch upon what you just said right there. This is where, an instance, I agree with you. A younger team that has a bye can be problematic from starting off slow. In addition, I think let's not forget, had Jalen Hurts missed a couple of games toward the end of the year. So I really do think there's going to be a rust factor for the Eagles.
100%.
And in addition, their defense start off like gangbusters for the first 10 weeks of the season, but you can run on them because of some of the injuries they had with Jordan Davis and what have you. So
Josh Sweat down.
Yeah. Right? So like
some pieces.
It's exactly. And I feel like this is where a team that you stated before that doesn't belong could be dangerous. They know their opponent and what have you. But I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder. I'll let you, predict the game first.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to throw, as always, my 2 cents in there to kind of reiterate what you were saying.
So here's the 2 things. This might sound obvious, but if the Eagles get out to like 14-0, game's a wrap. Eagles might put 50 on them. It just because then the rust is gone, right? They're flying with confidence, and then they're thinking the team they are. I think Saquon has to have 25 touches in this game if the Giants want it realistic, because they're not going to throw the ball to their no-name wide receivers over James Bradbury, Darius Slay, and the rest of that secondary. So Daniel Jones is going to have to win it with it has to be through the running game. I'm saying a lot to say that I still think the Philadelphia Eagles win the football game.
Yeah, I'm also going with you as well, but I literally think the game flow would be slow for the Eagles. They might even trail in the first half. That's how slow it's going to be for them because of that rust factor. And I really feel like they'll start pulling away, start like midway through the third quarter when everything's all cylinders are going there.
So
I'm picking the Eagles.
I do think that if they go into halftime trailing the Eagles, they might be in trouble, man. We're talking about who is the king of defensive coordinators over the last 20 years in the NFL. It's Wink Martindale, right? Like it's what he does. It's who he is. Like this guy is like
kamikaze.
He's literally balked at like head coaching jobs because he's like, not my gig, not my shtick, right? Like this is my side of the ball. This is what I do. That could spell trouble. I agree with everything you're saying. Like we're going to see some rust. We're going to see something slow. I just don't think the Giants are dominant enough offensively to like take advantage of that, which will keep the game close. Then if they let the Eagles hit their stride, it's going to be dangerous territory. Again, we just talked about the 49ers playing the Seahawks 3 times, and they beat the Seahawks the previous 2 times. Eagles are in the same boat. They played the Giants. This will now be the 3rd time they play the Giants, and they beat the Giants the previous 2 times. Last time, a little scary. Like I said, close football game, none of their starters. Jalen just coming back, even after a 2-game skid with him out. I think what if I'm an Eagles fan, what gives me cause for concern is in the back half of the last 3 games of the season, I saw our team take 2 steps back versus the 2 steps forward you want going into the playoffs.
No.
But all that to say, they're still going to win the football game.
I agree. Yeah, I concur.
All right. Sunday. What a good slate of games on Sunday here.
Yeah, this is the Sunday. I'm going to try to put work in on Saturday so I can have with the family.
With the family, right?
Yeah,
like a really busy Saturday.
So Sunday, I may have the day of rest. But go ahead. What was it? Bengals,
Bills.
Okay, where is it? Where is this being played?
In Buffalo.
Yeah,
the only game that's at a neutral site would be the AFC Championship game.
This is going to be probably my favorite game outside. I don't even know if the Super Bowl can live up to to this matchup because of what happened a couple of weeks back, right? How they were playing a couple of weeks. What happened with DeMar Hamlin and what have you. So I'm really looking forward to this game, and I think it's going to be star-studded. Looking at who I think wins the game. I won't get into that right now, but I'm a little concerned for Buffalo. And I get it. It was a division opponent, and who knows you better than someone in your division? But you can't and like I said, I did not watch any of the games, so this is just me, scoreboard watching, just like the majority of these NFL analysts. When they make their predictions or what have you. But you can't let someone come into your house, a third-string quarterback, and do that to you. That is sticking in the back of my mind, right? And that's concerning because, frankly, I don't think that game should have been as close. That game should not have been as close. And then you can now say, hey, Lou, the caveat is this, right? Well, look what happened with the Bengals and the Ravens. I think that was a little different. They played back-to-back weeks. I just think, in my opinion, that's a concerning look, especially for the Buffalo defense, this vaunted defense. They really are missing Von Miller. He's such a huge difference maker, and the fact, he got hurt and out for the year, I think that's going to hurt them come down the stretch. And I really like, from an offensive standpoint, on how the Bengals can beat you. They can beat you through the air, and they don't do it often, but they can run on you. And so those are my 2 cents of just the thought process of the game in itself. But I'll let you.
I was going to ask if you wanted me to go before you make your pick.
Yeah,
all right. So I agree on all accounts. What I saw from Buffalo last week was very concerning. Very concerning. Like, people will be like, listen, before that game started, Miami should have never been in the game, but they were in the game, and they weren't in the game because of how well Miami played. Like, I think they were in the game because of how poorly Buffalo played and how poorly Buffalo executed. And the only reason why Miami didn't win the game is because they didn't play well. Like, your superstars, like, dude, Jalen Waddle, how many drop passes, open, big spots, big plays, like momentum changing opportunities. And I'm seeing Josh Allen play hero ball right now, right? Like, and I don't think that's when he's best. I think he's his best when he just goes and plays ball, right? Like, and takes what the defense gives him and doesn't force those things downfield. It just, they feel a little shaky. I think defense has looked susceptible. No Von Miller is the obvious. And I think, I think there's this misconception that Buffalo runs the ball well. Like, and they do that because their quarterback gets them 50 to 70 yards of rushing every single game. But from the running back position, there's not a ton of production. Like, they'll have some flashy runs here and there, but the consistency of it. And I think the way that you beat Cincinnati is you keep Joe Burrow and that offense off the field. Like, you have to control the clock, time of possession, convert on third downs, get off the field on third down, defensively. Dude, I'm a big fan of Buffalo, right? Like I love Josh Allen. I love Sean McDermott. I love everything about that program other than the fact that I'm just not a Bills Mafia like fan or whatever it might be. Like the Niners have my heart. I'm telling you right
So
now.
hold on. Before you give your, I don't know if you're about on the verge of giving your prediction.
I was about to, yes.
All right, but does it change the fact that I was just looking up that Zach Taylor stated that both their starting left tackle and guard was it Williams and Kappa are week to week with their injuries, meaning they're most likely
missing this game.
So you're losing 2 starting offensive linemen out of 5, so that's 40%. If I did the math right, carry the 1 divided by 7, square root of 17. Yeah, that's 2. About right. Yep. Yeah, 2. Yeah, I think that's right. Does that cause you concern now? Because Buffalo does have a vaunted front 4, even without Von Miller. Obviously not as good.
Yeah, they still got Rousseau. They still got other players, right? Their D tackles are Ed Oliver. Like they're good players there. You want the honest truth? Not really, because that was the storyline on Cincinnati all last postseason, and they still went to the Super Bowl and had a shot to win that Super Bowl, right? Like they gave up, like, what was it? Like the most sacks in a playoff run ever. That's how they started the season. Even with those guys there, they're not real. They haven't been good, like in protecting Joe Burrow. To me, it's another day at the office for Joe Burrow and that offense. All it means to me is, all right, maybe not as many shots down the field. We're looking at some more quick releases. You're going to see a lot of work out of the slant, out of the slot. All that tells me is Tyler Boyd's probably going to have a big day for himself, right? Like, because it's going to be closest to the line. They'll move Jamar Chase around. They'll throw Mixon out in the slot. So it doesn't really give me a lot of concern. So much so that I'm going to pick the Bengals to win this game on the road.
Okay, so you probably were hearing from me when I was speaking, right? That I was probably leaning towards the Bengals, given everything I was saying, because I was concerned about what Miami did to that Buffalo defense. However, 2 things. First, I did pick the Bills to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
And they're technically still in the playoffs. So what kind of man would I be if I didn't stay with my word to pick the Bills to go to the Super Bowl if they're still in the tournament, right?
Yep.
Number 1. Number 2, personally think, the DeMar Hamlin thing is going to be a huge narrative. It's going to I think it sounds corny and cliche, but happens all the time. And I really feel like they're going to rise up. And this is no insight, no analytics or anything like that. This is pure just like gut feeling. I think Buffalo just rises up. Maybe they fix some of their issues they had last week. And maybe they get to Burrow more, because I am concerned not having 2 starting offensive linemen on the road. I think that's going to have an impact. I'm picking the Buffalo Bills here.
All right. So you heard it here. Lou's got Bills Chiefs AFC Championship game. All right. I got Chiefs.
I predicted, by the way, preseason.
Yes. I love to see the Niners Bills, that Berman Bowl that never came to fruition. That
I would love that. All right, so let's go to the last game. All right, we're doing good. By the way, we're doing good on time.
I know. We're gonna move. And this will wrap us up. So you got the 49ers, Cowboys. What I love about this is like nostalgia week for me, right? Like this is, it is a very well known fact that the team that I despise the most is the Seattle Seahawks, but that is based off of the last 11 years and recency bias. The truth is, growing up, the team that I hated the most was the Dallas Cowboys. This 49ers Cowboys matchup was 3 consecutive times was the NFC Championship game. And the winner of that team obviously went to the Super Bowl, but the winner of that game obviously went to the Super Bowl, but the winner of that game won the Super Bowl, right? Like this was the NFL rivalry for that early to mid 90s until the 49ers remained, but then Cowboys kind of fell off for a little while. That being said,
I got some questions if you want to answer for me.
Yeah. Hit me with some questions first, and then I'll kind of drag through my narrative on this game because I have too many thoughts to put out here.
Will Tom Brady play for your Niners next year? No, I'm kidding. No, all kidding aside.
It's possible. It's possible, dude.
It's just, I have two simple questions. First and foremost, where do you feel like the San Francisco 49ers have the advantage over the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm going to be
singular. I just want one. What is the matchup? Like, there's like, that is the matchup. It could be a player, could be a side of the ball, could be coaching. You tell me, what's that one thing you feel the utmost confidence in, being like, no, we got that?
Our offense versus their defense.
Wow. Okay. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. So our offense versus their defense. This is actually the perfect question because remember I said I'm going to save a point. This will bring me to that point. So we all saw what Dallas. It's amazing how 1 week changes an entire narrative on a team, right? This is a team that got smacked around by a third string quarterback against Washington, right?
By the way, who picked Dallas last week? This guy.
To win the game? Did I pick Dallas?
No, you picked Tampa.
I did. How do you bet against the GOAT? You know, and in a wild card round. In a wild card round, like that's a shoo-in for 20 years. Like literally a shoo-in for 20 years.
I told you it has to turn black. You know, like it's roulette. It has to turn black one time.
Do you know the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a road playoff game? 1992 against the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. So a long time ago, right? But that being said, the reason why, so we saw what Dallas faced, you know, we only gave up whatever, X number of points to Tampa Bay. Okay, cool. 45-year-old stationary quarterback they've been out of sync literally all season. Don't even pretend to run the football.
No. You watch your mouth. You picked them to win.
Doesn't matter because I don't have. Listen, I'll get to why I picked them. I just told you I picked them to win. You don't fucking pick against Tom Brady in a wild card game. Like you would have literally for 21 consecutive years, you would have been wrong. Yeah. Like for 21 consecutive years, you've been wrong.
I'm just busting your balls, but go ahead.
It's fine. And I only have one, so it's ball.
Just busting your ball.
Take it easy on it. I only got the one left. I don't think Dallas has faced an offense like this before, right? And we all talk about like bully ball. Listen, I'm not knocking Dallas's defense. They have a good defense, and they're good in certain areas. I think where you play into what Dallas does well is they rush the passer well, and they take shots in the secondary where they end up picking off passes. I don't think the 49ers are going to make any qualms about what they're trying to go and do in there, and I would not be shocked to see Kyle Shanahan tote the rock 40 times in this game if it goes the way. They're going to make them feel it. It's going to be a physical game.
So you're saying that Dallas has not faced an offense like this. However, I would kind of combat you and say they have faced the Eagles twice. Physical offensive line, a lot of playmakers. Don't being devil's advocate here.
I'm just saying the positionless football, the running scheme, the mismatches that are created, the physicality of this. I mean, dude, all 9 guys that aren't involved in the play, meaning the quarterback and who he hands it off to, are blocking their balls off, right? Like they're blocking, they're physical, they're dogs. Here's the other thing I would say that why I think the offense is better. So if I go back to last year when they played in the wild card round, I would argue, yes, I know that game came down to like, a Dak blunder where he slid too late and time ran out and the 49ers won by 6 points. And if they scored there, kicked the extra point, they can win, right? But all that damage, that comeback was done in the fourth quarter. And it was done when Nick Bosa missed the entire second half with a concussion. Fred Warner missed the majority of the fourth quarter with a rolled ankle, right? So like your 2 biggest contributors on the defensive side of the ball are not even there for the majority of the second half. Nick literally missed the entire second half. That concussion happened late in the second quarter. And then that run starts to happen late in the fourth quarter with like 8 minutes left. But for the majority of the game, the 49ers owned that game. Here's what's crazy. Elijah Mitchell was the running back last year, right? Number 1. I think he ran for like 75 yards. Our quarterback, Jimmy G threw for 176 yards, I think, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. That was his stat line. And they were still handedly managing this defense. I don't know how much better it's good. It was good last year. How much better the defense has gotten. But what I can tell you about this offense is you don't have to believe me. Go look at the stats. It's humming since number 13's under center. Oh, Christian McCaffrey is now a running back here, right? That can line up all over the place. And now, when all teams for the last 7 weeks of the season were all focused on Deebo Samuel, can't do that anymore. Can't just take 19 away from the game because they'll take you.
Because Ayuka stepped up his game as a wide receiver, where he was really lost last year, in my opinion.
Yep.
He was not playing anywhere close to where he has played this year. And he's finally living up to his billing. First round, draft selection billing. So yeah, you're right. It's just the embarrassment of riches. Who are you going to take away? All right, there's 2 other options after you do that.
Pick your poison, right?
Yeah.
You got 11, I got 11. You're going to try to double somebody. Hopefully you double the right person, right?
Okay,
like whatever it might be.
So I do have a question then.
Yeah.
Flip side now. We talked about what you feel the most confidence about. What gives you the biggest concern? What keeps you, or in my industry, this is a saying a question we like to ask clients. What keeps you up at night when thinking about these Dallas Cowboys?
What risk are you trying to avoid? What's your risk tolerance? Dak's scramble ability.
Really? That's because you guys are not good against more mobile quarterbacks.
Bro, I would say Aaron Rodgers is the threshold of the most mobile quarterback that we are like comfortable with, right? Like Daniel Jones presents a problem. Jalen Hurts is going to present a problem, right? Like this is reality. But if you're a stationary quarterback, bro, we're going to find you all day long. We're going to find you all day long. We know where you are, right? Like we'll just rush to the point. We won't even rush the quarterback. We'll just rush to a point in your drop back. So his ability to bide time, and then those receivers, CD, Gallup, T.Y. Hilton, another speed threat, just a busted play or a busted coverage or the off-the-cuff type play, out-of-script type play gives me cause for concern. Now, everything I just said on the offensive side of the ball makes me feel a little bit comfortable as long as that's not happening all game. This defense has shown me to be a bend, but don't break, right? Like they'll give up some points. They'll give up some yards. They'll give up some drives. But when push comes to shove, they're in the red zone. They'll hold you, right? They might keep you to 3. They might force a turnover inside our own red zone, things of that nature. But I would say, and it's funny that I'm saying this out loud because I don't think Dak Prescott's had a great year. He's definitely not proven to be a $40 million a year quarterback. But what do I say about confidence? It's a very scary thing. And I always thought that if the Cowboys found a way to win that first playoff game and kind of get that monkey off their back over the last whatever number of years, that's scary, right? Like, you know what I mean? So I think the short answer to your question is that's what keeps me up at night.
Okay, so playing devil's advocate, I got no dog in this fight. Obviously, I always believe in the playoffs. You generally go towards the better coach. That's what make your predictions. Who's going to win the game? What I'm concerned about for your 49ers is actually more on the offensive side of the ball than you would think, and let me tell you why. I am a little nervous for this could be that Purdy game. This can get ugly for Purdy real quick. And looking at I was just pulling up the schedule of who you guys played over the last 5-6 weeks. The defenses you faced are nothing. They're nothing spectacular. The Seahawks, Cardinals, Raiders, Commanders with Seahawks again. I feel like Purdy really hasn't seen a defense like this with the Dallas Cowboys. How they play so fast from a pass rushing standpoint.
Yep.
So I do think they're going to be problematic when it comes to rushing the passer. Now, if Kyle Shanahan's smart, he'll feel the same way too. And what he can do, slow down the game and implement bully ball and be more heavily run implemented, especially in the beginning to calm down Purdy. However, if Kyle Shanahan wakes up that morning feeling himself, he's a great coach, great offensive play caller. There is a little arrogance to him. If he feels like I'm going to just impose my will and do what I do because that's who we are,
Could put
that could be
themselves on the spot.
that could be problematic because this could be he hasn't faced a defense this fast before. Now on the flip side, I'm actually more confident on your defense. It's funny. It's role reversal here against their offense. Zeke is a shell of himself. Offensive line for the Cowboys played really well last week, but is that a one and done type of thing? Because they've been a little subpar over the last couple of weeks, right? So not sure if that's a thing of sign to come, or or they will revert back, facing your vaunted pass rush. And I just feel like if you take CD Lamb out, which you guys could because of the second and third level.
I mean, we did last year. I think he had 2 catches, and that was CD Lamb and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't believe in Gallup and what have you. So I'm more confident on your defense to actually neutralize that pass rush, because I feel like to beat you guys, you're gonna have to run the ball, and they do have Pollard, but I just don't know how much of a push their offensive line. I'm still skeptical. I don't know what their offensive line. How are they going to play against a front four that you guys have?
So I agree with you that this is the fastest defense we've played. I'm not going to say the best, right, at any point in the season. I'll just say they're the fastest.
Of course, but Purdy, though.
Yes.
I'm talking about Purdy's played. Now, I'm saying you could have played better defenses earlier in the year, but Purdy hasn't seen him.
No, at this speed, this level, yes. Right? I mean, we saw this very same defense. Like, keep me honest, I think the only addition is like Anthony Barr, right, to this defense that we saw last year in the playoffs, right? And I think we handled the speed well, but it was predicated on the run game. And I think you just have to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Here's my last thought on this game. I do think overall the Cowboys are the best team that we've played in a while. But I will also tell you that the 49ers are definitively the best team that they have played in a while, right? So like that goes both ways. And here's where the pendulum might swing a little bit. Like, it's still playoffs. Anything can happen. But we talk about like bye weeks and like the extra time to recoup and recover. Here's what I do know to be a fact. 49ers game was over, 4:00 their afternoon time, right, on Saturday. Cowboys played Monday night. Probably didn't get back to Dallas till early Tuesday morning, right? Like, and whatnot. So Tuesday is a wash. You're looking at 2 extra full days of rest. And keep in mind when you're talking about like the defensive advantage, our starting 11 defensive players, actually I should say 9 of the 11, did not even step on the field after 10 minutes and 45 seconds left in the fourth quarter of that game, because we had like a 7-8 minute drive. So we went down, Debo scored that touchdown. The very next play from Seattle, they threw the interception. We ate up like 7-8 minutes of clock, so the defense wasn't on the field. Kick a field goal there. Game is well out of reach. I think the only 2 starters that I saw were Azeez El-Shaair and Javon Kinlaw that were on the field at the end of that game. So like that rest, that preparation time,
that's a good point.
It's an unfair advantage, but it's crucial, right? And like whatever, you earned your advantage. Like that's just the way it is. But fitting. I'm picking the 49ers in this game.
I will also concur. I'm going with the better coaching. I'm going with the more physical team, right? You do have that get out of jail free card where you can just be like, all right, if Purdy is not slinging it, if he's having a bad game, just turn around and just feed your running backs and just have Purdy dink and dunk and make Debo take like a 7-yard slant or drag route, for a 30.
Yeah.
So I think you have that luxury, and I just think you're too physical for this Dallas Cowboys team.
Here's what I do know is those defensive backs although they are good, they're fast. Trayvon is obviously very
They're
talented.
matadors.
They want nothing to do with tackling a 49ers wide receiver.
They're
nothing
matadors.
to do with it.
They're matadors.
Debo's like seeking contact, right? Like, so we'll see. And we'll see what Micah does, right? Like, so honestly, he was a non-factor. So we only have one game different. We both have the Chiefs. We both have the Eagles. You got the Bills. I got the Bengals. And we both got the 49ers.
Yeah.
That's it, Lou.
That
wraps us up. We'll be back next week to see how these 4 games panned out and then, dive into the NFC and AFC championship game. So without further ado, because we didn't do it in the beginning, Lou, please tell everybody where they can find us.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WTF Pod NFL. And Weston, tell the listeners how to find us on YouTube.
We're Talking Football. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, leave comments. We will interact. We certainly want your feedback. And a little teaser.
Oh, I was going to get to this.
Soon to come, a TikTok account from the We're Talking Football podcast. I think it might be on the horizon.
A TikTok account?
What's this thing these kids do these days? With these silly dance videos and weird trends.
It's going to get a little weird, guys. 2 dragons.
We're pretending we're young and we know what the social media outlets really are that we should engage with. But Lou, a pleasure. Appreciate you braving it out and coming to the table. Again, you're a better man than I. But until next week, my friend, I bid you adieu.
All right.
Adios.
Peace.